mind, body, and spirit. We had a journey so far where we delved into mind. We finished a 10 days of body. We did 1 day of spirit, and today is our second day of spirit. We have a special guest, Tristan Gutner, and Tristan is going to take us on a journey. Let me go ahead and fire up our PowerPoint and get Tristan in. 1 second. Awesome. Okay. So Tristan is going to take us on a journey of purpose, and his topic is desire is the breadcrumb trail to your purpose. Access your infinite potential. Okay. So make sure that you all have your pens, your pads, take good notes. And after, hopefully, Tristan will leave us about 10 to 15 minutes where we can get some Q&As. And if there's any giveaways, I'm sure he'll mention it at that time. So Tristan he's a transformational coach, and his discussion will be how to get you to your purpose. So make sure you tune in and focus. Okay. Our disclaimer: the opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of 30 Day Redemption or its members, officers, staff, partners, or advertisers. So, Tristan, we're going to get you to pull up your presentation and fire up your screen, and we're here to listen. And there you go.
Hey, I am here, and it looks like you guys need to give me video access here.
Okay, 2 seconds.
Oh, there we go. All right, we're here. What's happening, everyone? Thanks for having me. I'm Tristan Gutner, and thanks for the kind and generous introduction there. I really appreciate it. And today, as you heard, we're going to talk about how to identify your purpose, but also how to stretch yourself to understand what you're truly capable of. So we're going to really go on this journey exploring the infinite potential that we all possess as human beings. Any questions you have, please write them down. I'm going to try to leave a whole bunch of time for Q&A because this is obviously a really big topic, massively important to our lives, and it has the capacity to change our lives really in an instant. So anything that comes up, please write it down. I'm available to answer any questions you guys might have. So starting off just with this idea, we as human beings have infinite potential to be, do, or have whatever it is that we want. And the journey that we're really on when we come into one of these bodies is to start to really comprehend the calculus of the universe so we can start to access and express this infinite potential within us. And I call it the calculus of the universe really intentionally because most people feel pretty confused by the way life moves around us. We might have these peak moments, but we also have these deep valleys. And the idea here is like we want to start to look at the way we function, the way the universe is constructed, the way spirit operates in our life, almost from a more scientific standpoint. And what I mean by that is there are laws that govern the way that life flows. And when we start to understand those laws, we start to understand how to be in the flow of life or the flow of spirit with much more ease, much more fluidity. And most importantly, we get to go create what it is that we're here to create and experience a lot of joy and help a lot of people as we are. So what we're truly capable of typically exceeds what our imagination can comprehend from our current state of awareness. It's quite difficult initially for us to start to understand the extraordinary gifts we possess because we have to really start to believe in ourselves differently. So to allow this potential that we all carry to express through us, we have to change our concept of ourselves. So my passion is really helping people become really aware of what they're truly capable of and then access that, express it, and really just go transform the world here and now. Because I found this to be true, we need to raise the ceiling of our beliefs in general, and certainly our beliefs in ourselves, to accept both the size and the scope of our purpose. You know, we We each come into one of these human bodies to do something very powerful and also very unique. So we're all here to do something very specific. And that specific function, though it's unique to each of us, we're here to serve life. We're just here to help people. We're here to help life expand. And each of us possesses a capacity to do that that is so much bigger than we are usually willing to give ourselves credit for, and so much bigger than our belief system will allow for us to acknowledge. So I really today, I think the biggest gift that can be transferred here is to give you guys some information, but also some practical steps about how to identify and also accept the scope of your purpose, to really raise the ceiling of your belief in who you are and what you're capable of. Because the second you do that, your capacity to go change the world expands dramatically. And the quality of your own life, or your business, your relationships, whatever it is that you're vested in right now, that will change dramatically and really quickly if you want it to. So that's my desire. That's why we're here today. That's what I'm hoping to share with you guys. So I just want to start off with just a very basic concept. First and foremost, I'm going to use the word spirit, and I mean that to represent the single source of life found everywhere all the time. So if the word God works better for you, awesome. The word universe works better for you, awesome. Energy, source, spirit, it's all the same thing to me. Um, so we're going to operate here for the next 45 minutes or so under this general but really profound concept. Spirit is, period. Spirit is. Everything is spirit. So the computer that I'm looking into right now is spirit. This cell phone, spirit. This thing I call my body, spirit. The words coming out of my mouth, spirit. So we're at this very unique point in history where science is now saying what spiritual traditions have said for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, which is this. Call it what you will, there's a single source of life, and that single source of life is omnipotent and omnipresent. It's everywhere all the time. Every follicle of hair, every pixel on the computer screen, absolutely everywhere. So all there is spirit. That means we have access to spirit in its full power, moving to and through us in every single moment. Part of the biggest challenge as humans that we experience is that because of the beliefs that we've accrued over a lifetime, we think certain things are sort of like in the realm of spirit or spirituality, and certain things are not. And we don't realize that every thought, every action, every feeling, everything that occurs in and around us is spirit operating. That is it. So just imagine for a second walking through the rest of your day, whatever is on the docket for you for the rest of the day. Imagine walking through it, looking through that lens. This is all spirit. All this is spirit. Imagine how quickly your problems would change. Maybe not externally, but your relationship to them would change immediately. So you have to start thinking, if that's the reality, and the source of all life is everywhere all the time, there can't be a problem, not really. There can be a challenge that we need to move through. There can be something we need to understand more. But what it means is if there's a problem, there's also a solution connected in the same space at the same time. Because again, if spirit is, there's nowhere that can lack an answer. There's nowhere that can lack a resource. What is lacking in certain moments is what we're capable of perceiving or willing to perceive and see around us. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I described that clearly, because it's such a profound concept. Like, we could really end this call right now. And if you chose to walk through the rest of your day just looking through that lens, it has the capacity to change absolutely everything for you. So spirit is, that's the umbrella that we're operating under today. Obviously, we're going to talk about desire today. That's the real thrust of this talk. So the word desire, I want to talk about this for a second. The word desire, its etymology comes from Latin, and it's based on desire, of the Father or of God. So let's break that down. What does that really mean? When we have a true heart's desire, I mean something that we are really prompted to be, do, or have. Not like I want a salad for lunch. That is a desire, but that's a lower level desire. I mean, I don't know why, but I want to go move to Alaska. I don't know why, but I feel incredibly guided to pick up the phone and call this particular person. I don't know why, but something is pushing me to go do that, and it won't stop. Those are the types of heart's desires we're talking about. So, if desire is of the Father, of God, of Spirit, what we're starting to see is this: when we have one of those heart's desires, what it really is Spirit whispering in our ear or through our heart, hey, go this way. Go towards that thing that you're experiencing desire around. The idea is this, as human beings, we have free will. We get to choose. So it's an incredible gift. It sometimes shows up as a curse for some of us, and you see humans make really wild decisions around that don't serve life. But we as humans have free will. The way we direct that free will most effectively and efficiently to really create what we want is to allow these desires to guide us. It is the promptings of Spirit in our life saying, I want you to go this way. Because when you go this way, whatever that is for you in this moment, a couple of things are going to happen. You're going to learn, you're going to evolve as a human being, you're going to evolve in your capacity to allow life to express through you unabated without resistance. And when you take that next step, you're going to be presented with the step after that, and the step after that, and the step after that. Until several years later, at the end of your life, you look back and go, oh my God, look at that journey. From that original vantage point, I had no idea. I couldn't see where this thing was going. All I had was that desire pushing me forward. So we're never shown, because we have free will as humans, we're never shown 30 steps down the road. We're not even shown 2 steps usually. What's required is us going, I don't know why, but I'm prompted to go do or experience this thing. And when I take that step, I know I will be shown the next step. So that's how desire starts to function in our lives. It's like this constant guidance system being projected to and through us. And once we're willing to listen and have the courage and faith to take whatever that next step is, we're showing the next and the next. But it's this constant stream of information from Spirit sort of laying out this golden brick road in front of us that will eventually lead to the fulfillment of our purpose. And I can tell you, I'm sure all you guys have experiences with this in your life, but I can tell you from practicing this for a very long time, it's really wild what happens, because we're shown these things that make no sense in the moment. Several years ago, I now live in Los Angeles, but several years ago, I was living on the East Coast. My wife was newly pregnant. We had sort of just moved there. I thought, this is it. We'd moved around a lot. I was ready to put down roots, have a baby. It's time to just settle in. And I started to get what I would call an inner prompting or desire, saying, you got to move to LA. I was thinking like, oh my God, really? Yeah, I had no desire to move out here at all previously. But this thing kept building and building and building, and I couldn't ignore it. So eventually we moved out here, and I could write a book on what has happened in the last 2 years since moving out here. Just as far as listening to that desire and taking that step and having no idea what was about to show up, and then seeing all these extraordinary opportunities that bring me closer and closer and closer to my purpose. And that will continue happening for the rest of my days. So we have to be receptive here. That's the idea. And make no mistake about it, we're being guided to exactly what we came here to do. The challenge is that prompting or that guidance, we want it to show up as this like foolproof plan. And we want to be able to see 30 steps down the road, 30 years down the road. Well, this will happen here, and it will click into here, and it will eventually lead here. It doesn't work that way. Not for most of us, not most of the time. What we have is a single desire pushing us forward. And we have to have a tremendous amount of faith and courage to trust ourselves and trust Spirit operating through us to take that step and to see what comes next. So you have infinite potential. Spirit is. Everything is Spirit all the time. You have access all the time. You receive the guidance of Spirit in the form of desire. The next piece in the puzzle is this. You came here to be you. In fact, you're paid to be you. I do mean that financially, but I don't only mean it financially. So if you run a business, the success, the financial success of your business depends on you being you at the highest level. If you're in a relationship, the success of that relationship requires you to be you at the highest level. You're raising children, same thing. Anything you're engaged in, you're there to be you as only you can, because there's only one of you. And because there's only one of you, that means spirit has a very unique opportunity to serve life through you in a way that it cannot through other people. So we're all here expressing spirit or creative intelligence in these unique ways. An author I really love, he wrote in the first half of the 20th century, Thomas Troward. He talks about something super fascinating. I absolutely love this, and has stuck with me since I ever read it a few years ago. He talks about how the word man, M-A-N, derives from the Sanskrit word M-N, which I don't actually know how to pronounce that, but it means measure or distributor. And what he talks about is this: we're all here as a distributor of divine gifts. We're all here sort of as emissaries or ambassadors of spirit in the world. You, whoever you are, whatever you do in your life, you possess a very unique skill set that nobody on earth possesses. So it allows spirit to go serve life through you. So the idea is you're a distributor of these gifts, but you can only distribute them to the degree you allow yourself to be you. Wherever you put that ceiling and you start bumping against it in your self-expression, you're also bumping against it at the level of service you're capable of providing. You're also bumping against it in how far you are willing to look into and actually accept the depth and the magnitude of your purpose. Your purpose is to be you. That's it. But what that is for you is going to be completely unique. It's different from any other human being out there. So once we start down this path, the question we have to start asking ourselves is, where am I stopping my natural self-expression? I'll talk about that in a little bit. And it's a topic, by the way, we could talk about for hours and hours and hours. In fact, when I work one-on-one with people, in a way, that's all we ever talk about. When it really comes down to it, that's the only game in town. Who am I? What am I here to do? And where am I capping that natural self-expression for fear of how I'll be perceived, for what might happen if I fail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So having what you truly desire, and we all have something we truly desire, then that is the natural outcome of you being you. So the challenge, the opportunity, the work becomes understanding where we are capping our understanding and our expression of what it is to be who we truly came here to be. I hope that makes sense the way I said it. If not, please write down your questions and we can dive into that in a little bit. So you're paid to be you. And I mean that again, financially, but also emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, physically, meaning the abundance you desire in whatever form you desire it is the result of you being more of you in the world. The beautiful part about this to me is that we are abundantly supported to go be who we are in ways that blow our mind when we really start to see it. So the modus operandi of life or of spirit is more life for all life. Meaning anything that supports life to expand is supported itself to go do its function. Whenever I say that, people say, well, that's like an interesting concept, but how do you know that? Because you could just say whatever you want right now. It doesn't make it true. And that's true. That's a good question. When we want to understand the laws that govern the universe and our place in it, we want to look out to nature. Nature is life expressing itself without the intellect of the human being coming and messing around with it and messing it up. So if you can see nature, I can look out the window over here, but if you can see nature for yourself, look out there right now as I'm talking about this. Because the blueprint of life is cleverly hidden in plain sight all around us all the time. So again, the modus operandi of the universe is more life for all life. Life is supported to thrive. So when you look at nature, you can look out and see a big, beautiful tree perhaps in your yard. That tree is supported to be the highest expression of itself in this moment, meaning in its immediate environment, it's provided the ways and the means to thrive. Everything in nature that's true of. And if it's not in the immediate environment, the things required for it to thrive, it might be an animal that naturally has a migratory pattern, but can easily get to where it needs to get to in order to thrive. But that tree outside your window has the sunlight, the nutrients, and the water required to thrive. Same with every animal you're ever going to see out there. This only changes or seems to change when a human being gets involved and starts messing around with it. But nature, left to its own devices, expands, 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 fulfills each of these natural life cycles to the highest extent. And then that life cycle in that particular form will start to die off and decompose. And in the decomposition or death process, feeds more life. So you can see, even in death, life is expanding. So this is a fascinating concept. What does it mean for us here? Let's bring this into, let's get very granular and bring it home for us. That means you're supported to thrive. You are part of the continuum of nature and the continuum of life. The universe is constantly expanding. Nature is constantly expanding. Life is supported to thrive. And you are part of the continuum of life. So that means that you are provided with everything you require in your immediate environment here and now to go be who you came here to be, to fulfill your heart's desire, to fulfill your purpose. Everything right now. And I mean that quite literally. So I want to be clear. I don't necessarily mean if you need $50,000, like a bag of money is just going to fall in your lap through the ceiling. But the opportunity to bring that $50,000 in has to be here. You couldn't have the desire otherwise. It doesn't make sense for life to give these promptings in a way that cannot be fulfilled. The universe would ultimately implode on itself if that was the case. So everything is here for you to go fulfill whatever it is you came here to fulfill. And the idea here is we just need to start thinking about the world around us differently to start to recognize these opportunities. So different people like to put this information in different formats, and you can use whatever works for you. Some people call it a holographic universe. Some people talk about the law of polarity. But either way, the idea is this: spirit is, as we talked about before, which means everything is here all the time. Lack only exists in our mind. The source of all life is everywhere all the time. The source of your money, everywhere all the time. The source of your love, everywhere all the time. The source of your happiness and fulfillment, everywhere all the time. Spirit withholds absolutely nothing. The only withholding that occurs is inside our mind. So that's the place that we have to start making these changes. So I'm trying to give you guys as much information as possible right now. If it's a slight overload, my apologies, but I want to give this all to you, and you can sort of sort it and integrate it as you see fit and over time. So I want to go macro for a second. We can go 30,000 feet and just look down at all these moving parts that we have to start to really make sense of this. So spirit is, it's all there is all the time. And we can never escape that. There is nothing outside of the realm of spirit. Absolutely nothing. Your desire points the way. So you're getting these promptings from spirit to go be, do, or have certain things. Those desires and the steps towards them help you grow, help you evolve as a human, and take you one step closer to your purpose every single time. And now we also know that you're supported along the way to fulfill your purpose. More life for all life. The law of polarity, holographic universe, different ways of saying the same thing. Spirit's everywhere all the time, and the ways and the means for you to fulfill what it is you came here to fulfill have to be around you right now. So we know we're supported to go fulfill our purpose. It really starts to beg the following question. If I don't have what I want to have in any form, why not? Why do we struggle if the universe is constructed in this way? If the calculus of the universe is such that everything we require to thrive or succeed or win, fulfill our purpose, if it's all here, why are we struggling? And if we're being honest, all of us struggle with different things. There's no one who doesn't. So that's not, I never want these questions to be weaponized the purpose here. So if you've gone down that road, it's okay, but pull yourself back. Let's just acknowledge, great, there's certain things I'm excited to create or experience in my life that I haven't yet created or experienced. Fantastic. But why is that the case if we're provided with all this stuff? This is the moment where we have to turn the lens inward. This is the moment where we start to really talk about personal responsibility. So I like to talk about it like this. Your mindset is the aperture that determines how much of the flow of life or the flow of spirit you are willing to allow and express in your life. So if you have a mindset that is trained to think the world is against you, that is trained to be in protection, clamp down mode, safety mode all the time, the aperture is probably open really, really small. Just like a little pinprick of light can get through. That means the flow of spirit we're allowing into our lives is that small. If our mindset is one of growth and abundance and love and kindness and compassion and self-love, that aperture is open really wide. And the stream of spirit shows up in a very different way. So the idea here is like, I mean, you guys can see the door behind me. The idea here is like spirit's at the door. It's not even knocking. It's just patiently waiting at the door. The second we open the door, the goodness of spirit and everything that comes with it flows into our lives. If we open the door a tiny crack, that's how much flows in. If we rip the door off the hinges and the door jamb, we throw it in the garbage and we allow that thing to really open up, that's what starts to show up in our life, that magnitude of blessing and vision and guidance. But your mindset is the aperture that determines how much of that you're letting in. And this brings us right to personal responsibility. This is our choice, guys. And this is the place where typically people get a little more uncomfortable. This is a place where a lot of times people want to bring up a lot of the challenges in the world. It's a pretty poignant time to do that. I want to just be clear. I'm not commenting on what has led to any atrocity that we might be experiencing or witnessing in the world. The point that I want to make here is this. Whatever is going on in the world, whatever is showing up in your life, no matter how painful, and I have a lot of compassion if something challenging is going on in your life right now. A lot of people are really suffering. And we're in a time of just tremendous tumult and change and transformation. And the transformation process is painful. It's scary. We have to let go of a lot. So I have a lot of compassion for that. Whatever is going on in your life, this is what I mean when I say the mindset is the aperture. How you react to what is showing up in your life determines everything from that point on. So if something really scary or challenging is showing up in your life, I'm not suggesting you need to blame yourself for that. Absolutely not. That's when you go double down on self-love. What I am suggesting is this: to feel what you need to feel. And when it shows up, to go, okay, I have a choice here. This is scary. It's really triggering me. It's really pushing my buttons. But I know the truth here. Spirit is, and I know I have access to spirit in such a way where this challenge can become a blessing, where this pain point leads to awakening, where this thing will absolutely transform my life if I allow it to. But if I'm using this moment to prove that life is against me, I'm going to get results that mirror that belief. And if I'm going to use this proof, as Robert Russell says, use every moment or every challenge as an opportunity to prove God or spirit. So if I choose to use this challenge as an opportunity to prove spirit in my life, that's when the door is ripped off the hinges and thrown away, and this flow of blessings can come in. So the mindset is the aperture, and we have free will. Free will just means we get to choose, period, about everything. In one of my favorite books ever, Man's Search for Meaning, if you haven't read that, I really recommend it. It's written by a man, Viktor Frankl, and he was in concentration camps during World War II, and he survived for many, many years after, but he was in the camps for years. And I'm paraphrasing slightly, but what he says is no matter the horrors that we were subjected to, and they were horrific situations, you could imagine, the one thing that could never be taken away was the ability to choose our own thoughts and feelings. And it is so profound because that's about the most abject circumstance a human being can find themselves in. But even in that, what he was saying is they couldn't take away my capacity and my right to choose for myself the thoughts I was going to think and the feelings I was going to feel, even when I was seeing people mowed down and put in gas chambers. So everything is available to us all the time. Joy is available. Abundance is available. Happiness is available. Those are just energetic frequencies happening in your body. You can choose them at any point, regardless of what's going on around you, excuse me. We choose what we emotionally allow into our lives. So I'm not saying we choose all the circumstances. We don't. Not on a conscious level, anyways. What we do choose is how we react to things or respond to things emotionally. And then that reaction or response dictates where we go from there, how much spirit we allow into our life in that moment. In one of my other favorite books by Neville Goddard, The Power of Awareness, he says, man's chief delusion is that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Man's chief delusion is that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. How we think and feel determines what we experience in our lives. Again, it doesn't determine the exact circumstances, but it absolutely determines the meaning we give those circumstances and whether we use our circumstances to stay stuck where we are or to catapult off into the stratosphere beyond what we ever thought was possible. Everything is energy or frequency. Everything is spirit. So that means everything has a very specific rate of vibration. And I'm just speaking scientifically, again, to talk again about quantum physics, saying the same thing spirituality has always said. We're just in a sea of energy, a sea of possibilities. Everything is here all the time. What we experience in our life is going to be harmonious with the thoughts and the feelings that we most often allow to inhabit real estate within us. Because those thoughts and feelings have a particular energy, frequency, or vibration. That's all an emotion is. Anger is just energy vibrating at a particular rate. Joy, energy vibrating at a particular rate. So what we're allowing to happen inside our hearts and our heads, then sends a beacon out to the infinite sea of possibilities, and it finds experiences that are in harmony with itself. That's all that's happening here, guys. When I said way at the beginning of the call, we're going to talk about the calculus of the universe, this is it. Now, it's not complex, but it requires a lot of practice to do this effectively. So we experience in our lives that which is in harmony to the thoughts and the feelings that we allow to inhabit real estate within us. When we change the state of our consciousness, the thoughts and the feelings we habitually give real estate to within, those things change. That's what our state of consciousness is. It's everything we consent to and believe is true. So if you have been operating in your life for whatever reason, let's just say that it's hard to make money. For whatever reason, you believe that that's true. If you change that belief just by consciously choosing to think and feel differently, the circumstances of your life will change. It has to. That is the calculus here. And it works the same way every time, without fail. So that's why we have the capacity to change our lives so quickly. Again, everything is available to us all the time. And when we put a little bit of conscious effort towards changing the way we have habitually learned to think and feel, which again, we learn those things just to feel safe in our environment, not to expand and to grow and to welcome blessing upon blessing upon blessing into our life. No, we learn to think and feel the way we do to stay safe, to stay at a very predictable place in our life. But if we want to grow, if we want to expand and we really want to go after something, we have to change these habitual thoughts and feelings. And it requires some effort. If we're willing to put that effort in, even a little bit, let's say just around the money piece, and just to be a little more conscious anytime money comes up in your awareness, to be a little more conscious of the fact that you might tend to shrink or constrict or think, oh, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to show up for me. To just take a breath, open up and relax and go, money's trying to find me. Why? Because I desire it. And everything is here for me. Even if you don't fully believe that, just do it right now. It feels better to think that thought. It feels more expansive. You are more receptive and available. And if you're more accepted, if you are more receptive and available, that means you're listening more. That means you have taken the door, maybe not off the hinges, but you've opened it up a little bit. And if you create that habit of thinking that way around money, you will see your experience change to the degree that you create that new habit. That's why, we could do a whole other class just talking about how quickly I've seen people's lives change. But it's why in a 10-minute conversation, I've seen people multiple times bring in tens of thousands of dollars to the point where it's just no longer even surprising or shocking. I mean, I'm excited for people. It's no longer surprising because all they did was change one thought that then opened their eyes to seeing an opportunity that, again, had to exist in their immediate environment already. They just couldn't see the opportunity because of the way they were thinking. Remember, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our mind. Our eyes just take in light. That's all that's happening. And then it runs it through the data processing center in our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind compartmentalizes it, tells us the meaning of the thing, and we move on. So the opportunity, whatever it is you want to go create, whatever it is that's the next step for you leading to your purpose, the opportunity for that has to exist in your immediate environment. It has to. But in order to be able to recognize that opportunity, you have to start thinking differently. What and how we think determines what we see in our lives, period. So it's why, again, I've seen people bring in tens of thousands of dollars in minutes, literally. It's why I've seen people change their relationship overnight. I mean, quicker than overnight. I've seen people manifest brand new jobs at twice their salary overnight. We get to change our lives as quickly as we want to, but we have to be willing to change our internal environment even more quickly. Otherwise, we're not going to be receptive to the change. Otherwise, we will not even recognize the opportunity to change it. But I promise you this, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it's so important. Whatever it is you want to go create, whatever the desire is that you're feeling really drawn to, money, relationship, business, health, happiness, whatever it is, you can have that today. You could be writing me an email in 2 hours going, oh my God, you will never guess what happened. That gets to show up now because the opportunity is here now. But you have to be willing to think differently about yourself and the world around you in order to recognize the opportunity and then take action. So I often say to people, small changes will create huge results in your life. In nonlinear mathematics, there's this principle that if you have, I know that sounds like it was about to get really complex and cerebral. It's not, I promise. But if you have an equation where there are tons of variables in the equation and they produce a certain outcome, you can take a really small variable, one of the least significant ones, and change it even the tiniest bit, and it will create this huge change in the end result of the equation. So when we start to change our internal environment, even the tiniest bit, this doesn't have to be moving mountains, guys. If we start to change it even the tiniest bit, we become significantly more receptive to spirit in our lives. We become significantly more receptive to the opportunities that are all around us all the time. And we become more willing to take action on those opportunities. So here's the kicker with all of this. Usually when the opportunity shows up to take you the next step on your journey, it appears as something quite challenging. That's why people get all messed up. So it might appear as a relationship ending. It might appear as someone embezzling in your business. It might appear as an injury. Who knows? But whatever is showing up in your immediate environment is there to take you forward. That's it. We have to be willing to recognize them as opportunities in the first place. And we have to be willing to take action to move forward. So, desire is the breadcrumb trail to your purpose. That means if you are willing to recognize your heart's desire, because a lot of people's belief system won't even allow them to recognize what it is they truly desire in their lives. So you have to start there. You have to figure out what that is. If money's no object, if people's opinions about you didn't matter anymore, what would you go do? So if we're willing to recognize our desire and then act on it, even though we don't really know where it's leading us, it's this breadcrumb trail leading back to our purpose. And eventually you will wake up and look around at your life and go, oh my God, look what I've created. I had no idea where all of this was leading. You know, I often tell people when they're sort of curious, like how I ended up doing what I'm doing right now. I was a professional musician for a really long time. And I loved it. I thought that's all I would do in my life. It was really fulfilling in a ton of different ways. But then things started to shift, and I just started to get this guidance and these promptings to go do other things. And it eventually led me here. But and I couldn't see this at the time, but when I look back, being a musician taught me how to be a coach, taught me how to teach, taught me how to speak, taught me how to be really present with myself and others. It taught me how to listen to spirit, to express whatever it was that I needed to express in that moment. So I had no idea. But that music career that feels like a past life almost was laying the foundation for this. I just couldn't see it at the time. So tracking your desire will always lead you where you want to go. Always. The challenge is we need to evolve our internal landscape, how we have habitually learned to think and feel in order to stay safe. We have to evolve that thing so we can recognize what we want, so we're willing to recognize the opportunities to have it, and most importantly, so we're willing to act on those opportunities, regardless of what's happening in the world around us. One of my other favorite authors, Wallace Wattles, he says, the hardest thing for a person to do is to think truth with a capital T, regardless of appearances. Well, the appearance of things usually looks like things are crumbling in our lives. If you're a normal human being, it often looks like that. The truth is, spirit is. The truth is, whatever you want is here. The idea, though, is we have to stay focused on that rather than getting distracted by the appearance of things all around us, suggesting why things are not working or not going to work. So the quickest way to do that, because I just want this to be really actionable for you guys, the quickest way to do that is twofold. One, start focusing on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So what I mean by that is this. Most of the time, we're focused on what we don't want. So say, again, just using the analogy as before, say you want to bring in $50,000. Most people, if they say that's what they want, that's over here, but they're actually focused on like, oh my God, that might not show up. I have no idea how to do that. What if it doesn't show up? What does it mean about me? What's going to happen? What are they going to think? All of those thoughts are staying focused on what you don't want. And like we said, we create things in our external environment that match or are in harmony with our internal. So instead of that, focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Spend time every day, just a few minutes, looking out through your own eyes as the person who already has that $50,000. So you're not watching it like a movie, you're actually living it in that moment. Feel the feeling. Watch what's going on around you in your environment, in the vision. Feel the expansion, the joy, the compassion, the self-love, the gratitude. Feel it all and just let it fill you up. Because the imagination, or rather your subconscious, doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real, quote unquote, because it's all imagination. We're always projecting into the past or the future. It's all the mind just making meaning of things that don't inherently have meaning. So when you experience the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live into that vision, you fill yourself with gratitude, love, and compassion and joy, to your subconscious mind, that is real. That's what's happening. And what's beneficial about that is you're spending more and more time in those feelings. And again, where you spend the most time internally, you will experience results in your external life that are harmonious with those. So focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And then start asking yourself better questions. So instead of allowing your mind to constantly be on this runaway train that's saying, what if this doesn't work out? What are they going to think of me? What if my money runs out? What if I fail? What if they see me fail? All of those things are just focused on impending doom or tragedy. Start asking questions like this. How easy am I willing to allow this to be? What would it feel like right now to become even more aware of spirit moving to and through me? What would it feel like to surrender even more to spirit right now? Where's the opportunity here? There must be one. If I trusted myself in spirit even just a little bit more, what would I go do? Etc., etc., etc. But every time you ask a better question, it sets your mind, it sets all the internal resources trying to answer that question. So when you start to frame questions that are open, that are receptive, that are focused on more and more blessings showing up, your subconscious starts to look for the opportunities to bring those into your life. So I have said a lot. I'm going to leave time for Q&A in just a moment. There may or may not be a slide for what I'm about to say. I'm not totally certain there is. So I'm just going to say, I've cleared out a little bit of time in my schedule just for thanking everyone for being on this call. If you're listening to this and you're going like, I know it is time to take my life and or business to the next place. I can feel it. I have that burning desire. I've created space for 5 free strategy calls, and that's just us getting on the phone and saying, like, let's look at what's going on and what needs to happen for you to get from point A to point B instantaneously. If you know you're ready for that, I created 5 spots. Email me, Tristan@tristan.gutner. Right now, I'll get you on the calendar for like today or tomorrow, and we can really get this thing moving forward for you and get you guys where you want to be. Having said that, that's what I have for you guys, and we can just open the floor for Q&A.
Okay, awesome presentation, Kristen, and thank you. Well, let's see if we have any. You can come in via calls or you can come in via chat. Does anyone have any questions for Tristan? If not, as always, I always have a question, so you guys should jump in. If not, I'll jump in.
It looks like Jabrito would like the email in there.
Okay, so
I'll put that in right here, guys.
yeah.
No problem.
In the meantime, well, I'll wait till you finish it, then I'll ask my question.
Hey, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. How does someone know the difference between um, temptation and desire in determining whether it's business or whether it's personal? How do you determine where the pull is coming from, if it's coming from internal or external?
That's a great question. I love that question. So I think it's usually easier to answer the questions when there's something really specific. Without that, I would just say this, like, spirit doesn't speak to us in the voice of fear. It just doesn't. Spirit's for expansion. Spirit's for more life. Fear does not serve life. So it doesn't mean that we never experience fear when we have a desire show up. In fact, typically we do experience fear because we're being asked to grow. So I always like to say, like, when you feel really drawn to something and you feel excited, but you also feel fear showing up, that's usually a pretty good sign that you're on the right track. It's usually a pretty good sign that this thing, whatever you are drawn to go be, do, or have, is going to ask you and require you to grow to become a higher version of yourself. So your subconscious is like, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And so it'll bring in all these reasons not to do the thing. So usually, even though it sounds maybe counterintuitive, when you start getting a laundry list of reasons you shouldn't go do the thing, it usually means you should go do the thing. And I'll share with you like a quick series of questions one of my mentors uses, and I just really love it. It's so simple to be able to sort of distinguish between what you're calling temptation and true desire. First is this something I want? And hopefully the answer is yes, or otherwise we shouldn't even be having the convo. Second is me being, doing, or having this thing taking me closer to my goal or my vision, as far as I can tell? Third, is me being, doing, or having that violating, excuse me, is it violating universal law, meaning more life for all life? Or actually, let me say it like this. Erase that third one. I'm a little underslept, guys, so my brain's like catching up with me. Third one, frame it like this: is being, doing, or having this in alignment with universal law, meaning more life for all life? Does it serve life, as far as I know, for me to go experience this thing? The last question is me being, doing, or having this violating the rights of anybody else? And most importantly, somebody else's right to choose. So if you get three yeses, yes, 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 and a no, good to go. Don't even worry. And I find that very helpful because when we're going to make a change in our life, our subconscious wants to get involved. And it thinks it's here to keep us safe. So it just wants life to stay exactly where it is. So it'll find whatever excuse it can to get us to not take action. So I think these questions sort of cut through that really quickly. I hope that clarified that or answered that question.
Yeah, I think the
If
part,
not,
especially when you said, does it violate anyone else? Because you could find yourself in a situation where there is a desire and a magnetism, but that magnetism may infringe on someone else's um, life. And so I think that's a good piece to the puzzle.
yeah,
Um, Again, does anyone else have any questions? Because if you don't, I have another one. Any questions? You could type it or you could speak it. Okay. Could always come in after. Second question: is it necessary that you have to accept consequences as part of the process of your design, your journey, that you have to literally go in and say, this is what I visualize, and I'm willing to accept the consequences of this decision either way?
yeah, yes, categorically yes. And I love this question because honestly, man, this is why we don't go for what we want. Some part of us is terrified to accept those consequences. Because when we really go after what we want, there are no excuses anymore except us. Meaning, like when I moved out to LA, I had no idea what was going to happen. I really didn't have like a fantastic plan in place. I just knew I had to go do it. But and I might fall on my face. My business might fail. And if all those things happen, that's just on me. That's it. So yeah, the answer is yes, but I want to add this piece. Where people get really tripped up is when we start really taking responsibility for our lives and we start making really clean, clear decisions towards what we want. No more excuses. Inevitably, we're going to have moments where we miss the mark. Inevitably, we're going to have moments that look like failure. All of those things are a natural part of the process, and they're required, meaning they're showing us parts of ourselves. When we don't hit the mark, we're being shown parts of ourselves or parts of our awareness that need to grow in order to do it better next time. So we make a mistake or we have what seems like a failure. It's actually a really positive thing. It's just saying, hey, next time, tweak this little thing and then it'll be easier. The challenge is that one of the ways that we have learned to hold ourselves back most powerfully is through shame and guilt. Shame is the voice of something I am is wrong. Guilt is the voice of something I did is wrong. And they are brutal emotions that are so incredibly uncomfortable that the second they come up, we will stop all forward progress. We will feel so badly about ourselves. And I'm bringing this up because when we part of answering this question about experiencing the consequences of our actions, we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna F it up. This is what happens. The commitment ahead of time has to be I'm not going to beat myself up when I do. When I make a mistake, I'm using it as an opportunity to love myself even more. When I make a mistake, I'm using it as an opportunity again to prove spirit or God. But most of us are so programmed that when we make a mistake, we need to be ashamed, we need to feel guilty, we need to feel terrible about ourselves. And every time we do that, it's like all forward momentum just grinds to a halt. So for me, being willing to accept consequences, that has to be the primary piece. Whatever shows up right now, I'm going to be kind to myself and I'm going to be kind to others, period.
Excellent. Did anyone else have a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
Um, so most of the time when you hear people talking about, manifesting their life and, be open, they relate it to meditation. Do you think that meditation is like the key way to do these things or the only way to do these things? And if and are there other ways to do it outside of meditation?
I love this question. Thanks for asking it. I don't think there's a single way to do anything at all. So I can speak from my own experience. Meditation I find very helpful. However, I know other people who don't and just don't use it, and they still are able to create amazing things in their lives, their businesses, their relationships. Um, so there's no one way to do it. My personal experience is this. I define meditation very broadly. It just is a time in the morning and at night where I get quiet enough to remember my intimate connection with spirit and to experience it. There's a million meditation techniques, there's a million ways to meditate. For me, I just want to make sure I slow down enough and get out of my own head and get out of my own way enough to listen to those desires moving through me, enough to have a moment where I experience the wholeness of who I am and realize, oh my God, there are no problems here, regardless of the appearance of things. So I don't think there's one answer for everybody at all. And I can just tell you, for me, it's really helpful and important for me to slow down, especially first thing in the morning, last thing before I go to bed, enough to remember what's really going on, which is spirit is, and there are no problems in my life. And if there are problems, I'm creating them in my mind. And there are absolutely beautiful solutions to any challenge that arises. Is that helpful? A helpful way to respond to that?
Yes. I like
Okay,
the
great.
fact that you said there's no one way to do anything.
Yeah, and I think part of the journey here too is trusting ourselves enough to know like our path is going to look different than other people's. So if in your life you know that like meditation is just not part of your journey, or it hasn't been the way you have been taught that meditation looks, that's fantastic. Just trust yourself and go with what's really true in your heart, because that's really all any of us are here to do.
Awesome. Okay. Did anyone else have a question for Tristan? If not, I have a question.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So this has been so good. It's like you can literally feel the spirit moving in this talk. So thank you. And my question is, I guess it's just a statement how sometimes a lot of us, the reason why we don't manifest what we want, and just from listening to you, a lot of times it's fear. And a lot of times those fears also comes from wanting to hurt other people or thinking about what other people are going to think about if we do this or if we say that. So I think my biggest thing, because even, you find people that are, in their 50s, 60s and feel like, okay, I don't have a purpose. I don't know this or I don't know that. And it's like over time, we have been conditioned to listen to people who, because we don't have the support to go and, start that business, create what it is that we want for our lives, because we have been so consumed with what people may think or what they may say, so that we don't go after our fear. I mean, after what we know is our purpose and what we should do. So I think, like, I guess my question and statement would be like, how is it that, we can just not allow fear to take us, allow what other people may think, which has nothing to do with us. How do we, peel off those layers of things that just comes and so consumes our thoughts, our purposes? How do we strip that off and just like, we've never really arrived. We're in a process, we're in a journey every single day. But I think just how do we grasp that so hard that, what people say and think has nothing to do with us?
That's the $1 million question, Estella, for real. Um, the surface answer to that, I would say, is what I talked about sort of at the end, which is just train yourself to focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So when fear shows up, so if you have like a business you want to go start, let's say, and fear shows up, oh my God, what are they going to think? And you notice it's really pulling you back. You can notice it happening. You don't feel bad that it happens. Just go, okay, cool. I choose where my thoughts go. I choose where I focus my attention. I have free will. I'm going to focus on the feeling of already having not even just started the business, but successfully running it, where it's making 5 and 6 figures a month with great ease. And focus on the feeling and just build the muscle of doing that over time. And you can train yourself that when fear shows up, or when you start to catch yourself going, oh my God, what are they going to think? You immediately switch your focus and actually feel in your body what it feels like to already have created the business or already have fulfilled the vision. So that's the first part. And then I would just say this, this is the deepest journey a human being can go on,
Yanni,
because
I'm
we're
sorry,
all
Tristan. I'm sorry. 1 second. Yanni, would you mind muting? Because we're picking up your background. Sorry.
don't be, it's okay. We got to remember, like, from the second we came out of the womb, we've been scanning our environment to understand what's safe, who we need to be and what we need to do, and who we need to not be and what we need to not do in order to be safe, in order to make sure love is not withdrawn. Because when we're little, if our parents are our caregivers, we die. That's it, for real. And the subconscious knows that. So while it can be really frustrating as an adult to go like, why do I care so much about what other people think? There's still a little person in there who thinks that the opinions of others is literally a life and death matter. So use the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And I just want to also add, this is a journey, this process, and it requires a lot of vigilance and a lot of growing self-awareness. But the feeling of the wish fulfilled is something you can use just right out the gate to go. So I hope that's helpful.
That was, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
Before we wrap up, and I see any other questions? No. Okay. Before we
I
wrap,
don't stop.
okay, you have a question, Jabrita?
I do not have a question, but I do want to say I have a comment actually.
Okay.
This was so powerful, Tristan. Thank you so much for this presentation and for the analogy. Um, and also the thing that you just said about fear. The one thing that you mentioned about that little person still living inside of you, that you also have to, that I believe, this is my thought, that is the person that you are training and conditioning, like unlearning to learn as an adult versus as a child, right? And so in terms of learning yourself apart from the opinions or the training and the teaching of your parents, that is how we get to also learn spirit, in the essence of understanding how to make those clean, clear decisions for our lives.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. You said it beautifully. It's like the second we stop, if we're focused on the opinions of others, they become the authority in our lives. And really what it is like, we're still saying like mommy and daddy are the authority in our lives, or whoever was taking care of us when we were little. Like I have to be pleasing to them. The second we unplug from that, we're plugging back into God or spirit. We're making spirit the authority in our lives. We're loyal to spirit. And really what we're doing, like you said, is like unlearning all these like protective, small making safety mechanisms we've learned as a kid, casting them aside and opening up and going like, I'm safe in spirit. That's who I'm here to be. What would you have me do? Let's go. I'm here.
So I have a question from a parental perspective. What are some things that we can do as parents to um, give the space, right, for our children to learn how to yield more to spirit than the authoritative figure as parental guidance in ways? Like I have a teenage daughter that's getting ready to go to college. What are some things that I can do to try to, I guess, more so guide her into understanding how to tap more into spirit, and trust that, and allow spirit to override the the authoritative figure of myself, I guess, more to say.
Mm. I want to say something this. Well, I'll say this first. The fact you're even asking this question is so powerful, and you have already given your daughter so much. The fact that a question like this would even come into your mind, you're already doing it for her more than you know. So I just want you to take that in like as much as you can. The second piece is just start talking to her honestly about it. Like my kids are 2.5 and 10, and the 2.5-year-old I don't talk to about it, but my 10-year-old, I'm constantly in conversation with him just in any situation that shows up. Hey man, what do you think about this? What's true to you? You can literally ask her, like, hey, if you didn't care what anybody thought, including me, what would you go do here? What lights you up? What excites you? And giving her the opportunity to even ask those questions, I think, is a really profound start. And the other piece, just as parents, it's something we always have to be really aware of is when we are giving our kids advice or setting boundaries for them, how much are we doing that just because it's what we think is right versus I'm going to set this boundary just to make sure you're healthy and safe. But within that boundary, I'm giving you full reign to go express yourself in your life because it's your life, it's not mine. And so as parents, I think we just have to have a lot of self-awareness and vigilance about how much we're trying to create like a mini me versus just creating a safe container for our children to go express who they came to be here uniquely.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question.
And before we end, I wanted to build on that just a little bit in regards to the parenting and how it affects legacy. Um, Traditionally, you'll have parents trying to rear their children to continue the family business or to continue the family legacy. And so we've seen examples where some of the more um, strict or the more tyrannical parents have made it very clear that this is what the family is doing. And if not, then you can do what you're doing, but you won't do it under these terms. That has proven to create banking dynasties, family dynasties, uh, except oil dynasties, et cetera, because the children were taught and reared to be loyal to the family vision and to the ancestral vision.
Yeah.
So, with this concept of allowing them the room, do we go back to, you know what, I'm just going to trust and accept the consequences? Or do you say, nah, the stakes are too high and I'm not going to trust the consequences? I am going to steer the consequences. So, how do you look at that in regards to child rearing?
Whew, I love that question. That's so powerful, man. I always just look at it like this, man. Like, obviously, as a parent, I want my kids to be first and foremost safe. I want them to be healthy, and I want them to be happy. I want them to have a really fulfilling life. Past the point of keeping them safe until they're 18, it's their life. That's how I think about it. It's not easy to think about it like that because I want to control every aspect because I think I know best. But I always just go back to this, man. It's between them and God. It's between them and spirit. I have no idea why each of them came into a human body. I have no idea what their souls are designed to do. Just like my parents didn't with me. So I think it takes a tremendous amount of trust, like you're saying, a tremendous amount of letting go to just go, look, I've done what I can do here. And my kids are still in the nest, but when they're going to fly in the nest, like I've done what I can do. I did the best I knew how to do. And I think that's a moment where you really have to walk or talk, meaning like if we're sitting here in a conversation going, spirit is, what it looks to like to put that in action is to go like, I did the best I can do, but honestly, this is between them and God, and it really has nothing to do with me. But that's a huge leap of faith to do
I agree. I guess the only thing you wonder now, as we talk about building your business or building your empire, I read, and I'm sorry for everyone that we're going over a little bit, but I read about some families who created, dynasties, and then had to outsource outside management consultant agencies to run their family business because they actually reared their children up and their children are really not interested or really not capable. And so now you have this thing you built for your family that outsiders have to come in and run it in order to keep the resources coming in. And it seemed a little bit discouraging because when you think about why or your incentive or your desire, the desire is usually for your children, for your grandchildren. So with this new information, it comes in to say, well, if I'm rolling the dice, let me just live the best possible life that I could live, and we'll see what happens. So it almost works against desire because the drive of why you do this mostly for men. Men, I believe, do this for their woman, for their children, for their family. That's the why. Other than that, what is really pulling you to do these things? To know that, you know what, this is an 18-year run, and in 18 years, all that I'm working for could go up in smoke. I don't know if I want to take that chance. So, what is your closing thoughts on that particular area?
I can only speak to really as any of us can to my experience. So I'll keep it there. It's like the business I built and the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into it. I would love for my 10-year-old in 8 years to be like deeply into personal development and really want to help change people's lives and businesses and relationships and come in. I would love that. That'd be amazing. But also, like, my why is to provide my family with the best life. But honestly, more important than that, and I don't say this lightly at all, is to do what I came here to do. That's driving me more than anything. I trust that doing what I'm here to do is going to provide them with the best life. But my why is because there's a directive coming straight from spirit that's like, Tristan, get your ass out there and help people in this way. That's what you're fucking here to do. Pardon my French. So if my son wanted to join the business, that's amazing. I would love that. And again, man, it's his life, and it's like that's between him and God. And I think we really have to be careful what our motivations are when we say we want to build a family business or build a legacy. Like, why? What's really, really underneath that? Is that because that's the deepest desire in our heart? Or is it to create some sense of family security and legacy so our kids are taken care of? And just really being honest with ourselves about where that's coming from. That's a complex subject, but that's, I think, with the time we have, that's as good as I could answer right
Excellent. Thank you, Tristan.
now. You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and fire up everyone. Thank you for your time. Good information. Let me just make sure we get your information for anyone that is interested in continuing the dialogue. Oops, sorry. If you're interested in getting in touch with Tristan, Tristan Gutner, transformation coach. I'm sorry. Again, his email is tristan@tristangutner.com or tristangutner.com if you want to go check out his website. For anyone else and everyone else, please make sure you share what we're doing at 30-Day Redemption. This video will be available like all the others on our fan page. Make sure you let people know about it and let them share the videos so that we can let more of this message get out to others to help them with their life. So again, Tristan, thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. We will do day 23 tomorrow as we go through spirit. Appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day. Take care.